All right. Hi guys. Hello. Yeah, welcome to class. Thank you. Thank you for joining me again today on the web development class. And today's promised to be one interesting class because we are going to, for the first time in a long time or never, we are going to dive into CSS today. So I'm really guys, comment, fire emoji, anything at all. Come on guys, you can do it. Or is it just me? Is my network poor? Good evening, Sarah. Good evening. There we go. Good evening, Sarah. You're welcome to class. Fire emoji, guys. Fire emoji. Good evening. Greetings. Anything at all. Good evening, Lawan. It's nice to see you again today, Lawan. Lawan was here with us yesterday, and Lawan has always been here with us. Welcome, Lawan. Welcome, August. Welcome, Aisha. Aisha, it's nice to see you again. Welcome, Precious. Precious, it's nice to see you again. Welcome, Favor. Welcome. Welcome, guys. Welcome to class. All right. Let's see if we can get more people to join, and then we can start. Whilst we wait for more people to join, maybe I'll just share my slide from the previous class, and then we can pick up on that. All right. Okay, we don't have that. Also, I said I'm going to share a document with you guys. Why the sad face, Favor? What's going on? Or is that a happy face? Okay, that looks like a happy face. All right, I said I'm going to share some documents with you guys, and then the document is going to contain a list of CSS, sorry, not CSS, HTML tags that you're going to need to know. So I'm going to share that eventually through Ido. If there's any other person that have been attending the other class, UX and UI, we are going to be gradually collecting all of those assessments and tasks now. So you're going to submit them in Google Meet, and all of the program material or course material to see as well. You are going to see them on Google Meet. So if you don't have a Gmail account, sign up for one. I bet everybody does already anyway. But yeah, so I would send the link through the community manager, and then and yeah, you guys would be able to submit all of those tasks, and we can move on from there. And you get a document as well, so you can read from. Welcome, Ido. Thank you for joining us. Okay. All right, so let me just share my screen from where we stopped yesterday. We don't have a slide again today because we're going to be doing more of coding again today than theories. So I'll send the theory to you later on. You get the theory through the document that I'll share through the community manager. Okay, so let me know if you can see my screen, guys. I just need 2 or 3 people to drop the fire emoji. Let me know if you can see my screen so we can pick up from where we stopped yesterday. Let me know if you can see my screen, guys. Fire emoji, 2 or 3 people. 2 or 3 people, fire emoji, guys. Fire emoji, 2 or 3 people. I'm waiting, guys. There we go. Welcome to class, Williams. Welcome to class. Yeah, there we go. That's the fire emoji. Oligi, welcome to class. Fisayo, welcome to class. Okay, yeah, you guys can see my screen, so that's good. It's good to know you can see my screen. So let's dive into it from where we stopped yesterday. So yesterday we talked about block element and inline element. And if you can remember from yesterday's class, I said block elements are any HTML element that, or tags. Tags is a good way to understand it as well, but in this case, they're called elements because, aside from, if you can remember that an element contains the opening tag and the closing tag. Again, guys, to check the code of any website, you just need to right click and then you can click on view page source, and that way you'll be able to see the code. So for us, this is the code that we've written. This is not my Visual Studio code. This is the browser. So all I did was right click and then click on view page source. So from yesterday we wrote this code, and by now you should know that an element is anything that starts from the opening tag to the closing tag. So in this case, all of this is an element. So it is impossible, it does not make sense for us to say that a block tag or inline tag, although it is somehow correct. It is somehow correct in a sense, like these tags are the one that is like performing the function of breaking or staying inline. But however, a single tag does not work alone. It would have to work with the other tag, which is the closing tag. So, and both of them is an element. So it is just more or less like plural or singular in English. So, the right way to say it is block elements and then inline elements. Excuse me if you hear me say block tag or inline tag every other time, is just my own error. But don't learn the bad habit for me. Learn the correct terminology. So there we go. Yesterday we learned about block element and inline element, and then I told you that inline element is any type of HTML tag or element that stays on the same line. Why block elements are those that break on a new line. And then I give an example, or I use an example of the paragraph tag, which is the P tag, and then the anchor tag, which is the A tag. And then we just look at how both tags behave to determine how inline and block elements behave. So, I believe you still have an understanding of what we did yesterday, so I don't really need to go deep. Then we went on to talk about building our first website, and then we built a HTML table, which is what you're looking at right here. The intention is to create this into a bigger website. Not really so big, because we are still going to do a proper website with Bootstrap, but we're getting there gradually. So today we are going to develop our food menu table folder, and this whole website we are going to develop it further, and we are going to introduce. I'm going to introduce CSS to you guys today, so I'm really excited about that one, because this is the point where things start to get a little bit interesting, and then you probably start to enjoy what you're doing. So what I want you to do right now is to open your Visual Studio Code again. Open your Visual Studio Code. If you notice, we are using more Visual Studio Code now than CodePen. And that is because, as a web developer, that is what you're going to be using. But CodePen is just good for a start, to just show you that, you have CodePen. You can use CodePen as well. CodePen is not really for coding, it's just for creating like maybe snippets of code and things like that. I'm sorry guys, my computer is a bit slow. I should have opened the app. All right, so while that is loading, what I would like you to do is to go into your folder, and then we're going to create a new folder. What is this infinity loop of madness? Okay, if I just stop sharing my screen, maybe it would help. All right, open multiple times then. All right, so guys, what I want you to do right now is go into that folder that you've created for HTML in your computer, and then create a new folder called called food website. Create a new folder called food website. So this is all I'm asking you guys to do. If you go to your file explorer in your computer, and then you probably have a HTML file just like me, and these are like all the folders that we've created so far. So what I want you to do now is to create a new folder again and call that folder food website. All right, so now that we've created that folder called food website, if I just enlarge my screen so everybody can see. So now that we've created that folder called food website, I want you to go to Visual Studio Code. Again, zoom in so you guys can see. Okay. I'll just come here and zoom in so you guys can see. All right, so you guys should be able to see my screen well now. So go into Visual Studio Code again, but this time around, what I want you to do is, so you should be able to see your own file proper anyway. So this time around, instead of opening a folder directly, what I want you to do is click on New Window. Click on New Window. So a fresh window should pop up just like this. My system is low, guys, slow, so it is not really working very fast today. I don't know why, but yeah, so a new window should open. It will not appear like this on your own end, but because I zoom in, that kind of like makes it smaller, but you should get the gist anyway. Easy to do. So once you have the new window opened, click on Open Folder, and then just find that folder where we've saved everything so far. So the folder we want to open is this food website. So just click on that food website folder that we just created. And once that open, I want you to do what we have always been doing. Click on the icon, new file icon, and create a new file called index.html. So the next thing that we'll do now, I believe, by now everybody should know the next thing that we're supposed to do. Can somebody tell me in the comment section, does anybody know? Is there a single person that knows the next thing that we're supposed to do? We're supposed to do something immediately we create our file. What's the next thing that we do? Come on, guys, one person, so we can continue the class. Just one person. I just need one person to tell me the next thing that we're supposed to do. Let me, Lawan, are you there with us? I think Lawan should be able to tell us because you've been very active, Lawan. Lawan, are you there with us? Are you there, Lawan? What is the next thing that we're supposed to do after we create an HTML file? How do we start when we want to create HTML website? There we go, Lawan. There we go. Nice one. Lawan. Lawan is very active. Thank you, Lawan. Yeah, I'm going to send a message to you through the community manager after the class. All right, so that's the next thing we do. We do doc type, and then we define HTML boilerplate. That is correct as well, Sarah. All right, let me just put a comment on. Right. So Lawan, that is correct. Thank you, Lawan. That is correct. And then HTML boilerplate. That is what everything is called, Sarah. Yeah, thank you. So Sarah and Lawan, I'm going to send a message to you both after the class. All right. So doc type, and then you want to put in the HTML boilerplate, just like Lawan and Sarah said. So to define the HTML boilerplate, first off, you need to define the document type, which is doctype.html. And then the next thing is HTML. Once you do that, and then after writing HTML, you want to write head, which is your head tag. And then inside the head tag, usually, if you remember, I introduced the title tag to you, title tag. So if you notice, there's a pattern that my code is kind of like going. It is breaking in line. So that is the proper way to write codes. Everything is supposed to sit inside each other. So title tag, and then this website is called food website. So again, today we're going to format that table that we created yesterday with CSS. I'm going to introduce CSS to you today. We'll dive deeper into building a dummy website with CSS today. So things are like getting more interesting. So this is food website. That's the title of our website. And then after the head, you want to define your body. And yeah, that's it. So after we've done that, the next thing that we can do now is to go back to that other window of Visual Studio Code that we have from yesterday. Copy the table elements, only the table. So everything from the opening tag of the table, and this is good for practice as well, so you know how to copy code, because trust me, most of the things that you'll be doing as a web developer these days is to copy code, because you are most likely you would have written the code before, and all you just have to do is to copy it and then reuse the code instead of writing code all over again. Welcome to class, Sally. Welcome to class. Nice having you again today. Okay, so copy the code from table down, from the opening tag of table down to the closing tag of table. So make sure you're not copying any other code in there. You're only copying the opening tag of table down to the closing tag of table. So copy everything, and then go back to that other window that we have, this food website that we are just creating right now. Go back in there. Go back into that food website, and then go into body and paste the code in there. Then save. So once you save, go to your folder and open it. Let's see what we have. All right, so we should have something similar to the way we have the table yesterday. So you should have something like this as well. You should have the table just like that. So right now, the next thing I want us to do, I want us to implement what we learned yesterday about inline element and block element. So the next thing I want you to do, not us right now, is to use the anchor tag to create a navigation bar, not menu this time, so I don't confuse you. We're going to use the anchor tag to create a navigation bar. Let's just put H in there for now. H. All right, so let's call this one home. So this is the home page, home, and then if we copy that and we want to paste it 3 times. All right. So we call that home, and then we call this one. Let's call this one about us. And the last one, let's call it contact us. All right, so let's save that, and then we just see the way that behaves. go back to our page and we refresh. Refreshed. Okay, there we go. So if you notice now, it's kind of like look like some of the websites that you've probably seen online before. Not really though, this is not a website yet. This is just a structure. So we're still creating structure, which is obviously what HTML does. But what you notice now is that, okay, we have a navigation bar now. We have a navigation bar, it is gradually coming together. So, from yesterday, I talked about inline elements, they stay on the same line, they don't break to the next line. Anchor tag is staying on the same line, it's not breaking to the next line. So just keep that in mind. Let's go back to our code. So we have that menu there. And then we have this our table as well. So one thing that you notice right here is that the table and the menu are so close together. We don't want it to be so close. Can somebody tell me, like, what HTML tag can we use to break it? What HTML tag can we use to break it? So we have a little bit of space above the table. What HTML tag can we use to break it? So we have a little bit of space above the table. Anyone at all? BR, Lawan, there you go. Thank you, Lawan. Lawan, I think you've done HTML before, Lawan. All right, so you use the BR tag. Although this is not ideal, but this is just HTML, yeah? So we're just learning HTML for now. When you get into CSS, you are not going to need BR to space things. In fact, it's not even the right procedure or right thing to do. All right, Sally, thank you. I see that BR as well from you, Sally. So we use BR or break rule to space in between. So we've used BR now to space that the menu and the table. So we've used BR to space it. Let's go back into our code again, and then I would like us to write some paragraph. Let's say maybe food is ready. Okay. Not paragraph, actually, H1. So remember, guys, not even H1. Yeah, it is H1, but food is ready is not what I want to write today. Let's write a food website. Remember, guys, every website can only have one H1, and that H1 is almost the same as the title. So the only difference between H1 and title is that H1 would live in the body, title would live on top. And they can be different, they can be different text. They don't have to be the same text. But however, you can only use H1 once for a page, similar to how you can use title for a page. So we have that there. But yeah, so we have the H1 there. One thing that we are lacking here is a logo. However, we are not into, or maybe we can just put logo as well. Let's put logo. I already introduced you to the image tag. However, we need to create we need to create, we're going to need an image to put in there, but let's just have that there for now, and I'll put BR there. Let's have that there for now, and then we'll find one image to put that will serve as our logo. So H1 food. So this is what is going on in this code now. This image tag, we're going to use it to link our logo when we eventually have an image to put in there. Okay, Lawan says no, he has not learned, but he has just been rewatching. Thank you, Lawan. I mean, you're really gaining a lot from this program. Happy about that. All right, so this image tag, we're going to use it to link our logo, and then BR tag is just space again. BR tag break rule just for space, and all of these anchor tags are our menu. More BR tags, space again, and then we have H1, which is the not title, but the main topic of the page. Just so I don't confuse you, let's say the main topic of the page. So we have that, and then we want a paragraph as well, and let's call this paragraph food is ready. So let's use more break rule again, just so we space it between our menu table at the bottom and every other content on top. So if you look at this code now, again, doc type to define the type of document we are working with. Then you want to have HTML open tag, and then right at the bottom, if I scroll to the bottom, which I don't need to, we have closing tag for HTML. Then inside HTML, you define your head, and then inside the head tag, you have to define your title tag. So, but the body tag lives outside the head tag. The body tag does not live inside the head tag. It is just like human being. So let's say this is you. You are HTML. You have you have a head, and then inside your head maybe you have eyes, and then this is like the rest of your body. So it is the same logic. You cannot have your head inside your body. That would be weird. So it is something similar to that. I hope that that explanation helped you understand better. So let's go back to our code again, and this time let us refresh and see what we have. So I've zoomed in, and then I zoom in quite a lot. So I think we may have too much space between our H1 and our menu, but that's not so bad. Let's leave that one as that. So yeah, so our food website is gradually coming together now. So the next thing I want to do now is that I want to introduce CSS to you, and this is where things start to get interesting. So there's this earlier on, if you remember during the class, there is this attribute that we saw, and it's called style. It's called style. So I want us to use that style in here. Style. So style attributes. Remember, guys, how to write attributes. The attribute name and attribute value. So it is attribute name equals to quotation mark, and then between the quotation mark, you put in your attribute value there. So right. So this style is used to write inline CSS. There are different types of CSS. There is inline CSS. There is CSS that sits in the head tag that you can write in the head tag, and then there is external CSS that you can link through another file to your website. However, for today we're going to talk about the two types of CSS, and then tomorrow I want tomorrow to be a question and answer class, so I can I can interact more with you guys, and then send you all of the documents so you can read further before we go deep into CSS and Bootstrap next week. So next week is going to be full on CSS and Bootstrap. We are rounding up with HTML already. So right, so we have the table tag, and then the style attribute. So the style attribute is basically basically an example of inline CSS. And the difference between inline CSS and the CSS that sits in the head and external CSS is that the CSS that sits in the head simply sits in the head, and then it will have a class, and then some other CSS selectors and all of those things. But I will explain all of that to you. You don't have to worry about that for now. But what I want you to understand is, like, there are three types of CSS. What I'm showing you right now is an example of inline CSS. So style, and then let us give it a border. So right. So inline CSS, I'm going to teach you how to write it properly as well. Okay. So inline CSS can have different selectors. So inline CSS can have like different selectors, or CSS can have different selectors. I think what is actually best before we go deep into talking about inline CSS is for you to understand the difference. Inline styling, yes, that's correct. That's correct. So that's the right term. That is the right term. Inline styling. Yep. That is correct. So yeah, sorry about that. I make blunders a lot. Right. So inline styling. So just correct us. But again, some people may call it inline CSS. So inline CSS or inline styling, it is both. They are both correct. Right. So let's so again, how to write attributes for HTML. You put it, name of the attribute equals to that. Right. So now I want us to define a border for internal and external CSS. So internal CSS, so is the one that sits on in the head, and then we're going to dive in deeper into that. I'm going to present with a slide so I can show you everything. But for the sake of today, we are just rounding up with HTML before we dive in deeper with CSS. But so we don't confuse anybody, let us keep the term simple for people to understand. So internal CSS is the one that sits in the head. Inline CSS or inline styling is the one that sits within the HTML tag, while external CSS, just like Chin also said there, is the one that you have to link with external or style sheets, with external style sheets or external file. So again, don't worry about the term, but a style sheet is basically a file. So we're going to look at how we link external style sheets to website pages. So back into our code. I want us to write a border, but I'm trying to explain something about inline styling, or like Chin also said, or inline CSS. So right, with CSS, there is a thing called there are properties. There's a thing called CSS syntax, and the CSS syntax is basically it contains properties and then values, and both the property and value are called declaration. Again, I would show you a slide and send a document over where you can read all of the theory, but I'll show you in practical for now. So I'm trying to create a border around our table. So there we go. We have the border there. I'm going to explain which one is the value, which one is what is the syntax, what is the property, and all of the jargons that I just said. I'm going to explain it, but let me just write this first. All right. Okay. So when it comes to inline styling or inline CSS or CSS in general, there are a set of words like keywords. There are very different set of words that are like keywords. You cannot those keywords perform a particular action. Those keywords perform a particular action, and those keywords are called they are called properties. They are called CSS properties. So, for example, this one right here is an example of CSS properties. There are several ones of them. There are several ones. This one is just one of them. This border property is just one of them. So all of these together, everything here that you see here is called a CSS declaration. All of this together is called a CSS declaration. But as well, there's a concept called CSS syntax, and how best can I say this without confusing you guys? All right, so let us move on. Tomorrow, when I show you the slide with all of the theory, you would be able to understand better. But doing the practical first and then seeing the theory would even help you further. So, however, this particular one that is here, similar to the way we looked at attributes and attribute name. So, in the previous class with HTML, you would call this one the attribute name, and then this one the attribute value. But with CSS, this one is called a property, and then there are different type of properties, similar to the way there are different type of HTML attributes. So this is called a property, and then anything after this semicolon, yeah, is called it's called a value. It's called a value. So when you're writing, I'll go away, please. When you're writing, go away. So when you're writing inline styling, when you're writing inline styling or inline CSS, you want to use this semicolon and then and colon. You want to use it. You want to use that coil brace, not semicolon. This is semicolon or colon. Sorry, semicolon, and then not coil base. Coil base is used for internal CSS, the one that sits in the head. But in this case, we're looking at semicolon and colon. So you want to use this to open the value, and then this to close the value. So you first off, you write the property name or the property keyword, which in this case we want to use the property called border. And then after writing the property name or the keyword, you use the sign, use the sign to open it, and then you can write all of your values. Then you have to close it with this sign. But everything would have to sit inside this quotation marks. Everything would have to sit inside this quotation marks. So earlier on, I have all of this there. I had all of this in there. So what I'm trying to do right now is that I'm saying this our HTML table. I want it to have a border, and you see the output in a minute. I want it to have a border, and then this border I want it to be size of 1 pixels. I want the border weight. Anyone that have been into graphics before would be getting the gist gradually here. I want the border weight to be like solid. Even if you've not been into graphics, you've used like Word documents before, or maybe PowerPoint. If you're writing a text, you can make it maybe like bold, italics, and so that is like the same idea with this solid value. So I want the border to be solid and not like maybe dotted or thin or any other style. So I want solid style. We are going to look at the different type of values and different type of keywords and syntax and properties eventually. But save yourself the trouble with the theories now. Just focus on the practical, and then when you start reading the theories, it will make more sense. So I've just changed the color of my. So basically, this as well is color. You would have seen this type of codes before if you've done anything in Photoshop. So it is the same idea, the way you define colors in Photoshop and any other graphics software that you might have used. So I just changed that because Visual Studio Code allow me to change that anyway. I just changed that to black. So property, and then all of these are values. And to write a property, use the property keyword or the property name, and then this sign, write your values in there, close it with this sign, and everything must sit inside this signs, which are the quotation marks. So first off, to write inline CSS, define style. You write style. You always start with style, and then equals to quotation marks, your property name or your keyword, if that is how you understand it, this sign, your values, and then you close it like that. So if I save it and then just go to our output as usual, and let us see what we have this time. So this is what we currently have, but if I refresh, you can see the border around it. So that is basically what that is doing. That is basically what it's doing. So now we have a border around it. You have a border around it, and that is looking interesting, but that is not the end. This class is going to end very soon, but that is not the end. I want us to do something further with inline styling, and then we can finish the class. So I have this there for the actual table. So this is, if you notice now, I put this styling in the table tag, in the opening tag. So you cannot put it in the closing tag. It always have to be in the opening tag. That is the only place, similar to the way you write attributes in HTML. That is the way you write inline styling or inline CSS. You cannot put inline styling at the closing tag. It is not going to work. It always have to be at the in the opening tag. So right now I have the styling or this inline CSS. I have it in my table tag, and it is only working with the table tag. So let me just copy what I did there and then put it in the first table row. Let me put it in the first table row and then save that. I think I said table row yesterday and not table row, maybe. But if I said table row yesterday, that was a mistake. The correct term is table row. All right, so let's refresh that. Is it working? It's not working. Did I save? Okay, that is not working. There's a reason for that, but I'm not going to try to find that reason. I can't make sense of the reason for now, but I'm not going to try to find it. Or better still, but this is what we're going to do. Okay, so because the table already have border, that is not even correct. Because the table already have border, and defining border for table row is not possible. What we can do is background. So that is something for you guys. Background color. That is something I'll explain this background color in a minute. So that is something for you quickly to learn. Just because you can put border around the table does not mean you can put border around every other thing and it is going to work the same way. So the best way to think of it is like, border applies to the top element or the parent element. Yeah. So every other thing that would sit inside, it does not apply to it in this case because, it is a border. It is meant to sit outside, like, it is meant to appear outside and not within. When I do the slide and send the documents tomorrow, I would send a more logical and a proper way of explaining it to you guys, so you have the proper terms and the reason why it is not working. But what we can use instead is to define a background color for the table row. Sorry. So let's define a background color for this first table row, and then maybe let's give this one, I don't know, what color can we give to it? Let's copy that first off. Not black, we don't want black color because it won't show. So let's change the color. Let's maybe, yeah, let's give it something like this. Right. So let's give it that color, and then we save. So background color, what background color does, you see in a minute. So background color is another example of CSS property. And then, but just refresh that. So you notice, guys, that everything in this row now have the color that we defined in the code. So everything in this row, which is all of this. So this is a row here. This is a row. And then everything that lives within that row is taking this value of background color. So if I remove this now, if I remove the code that I put in the table row, and then I just put it in one of this, which is the table head, and not everything. So the table head, I put it in there. I've removed it from the table row now. I put it in only one single single table head. And if I refresh, what you notice, like, the styling only applies to one table head. So that way, that way would help you to think logically, like, how does this CSS styling works, and how does CSS HTML works and everything. So CSS again is called cascading style sheets. But we're going to go more into CSS from tomorrow and next week, so we have all of the theories properly. But just follow me as we go so we can round up with HTML, and you have a better understanding of how HTML works with CSS, because it is important you understand that before we dive into Bootstrap and CSS fully. Okay, so all I'm trying to say here, if you notice, right, for the table, we defined a style for the table, and everything sits on top for the table, and then the border applies to the whole table. And right here as well, when I defined a background color for the table row, everything applies to everything in that row. The background color applied to everything in that row. But this time around, I took it away from there and I pasted it in one single element, which is this table head, the first table head, the first element, and that only applies to the first element. So that's kind of like tell you or help you understand how CSS behave with HTML. How they interact with each other. So you cannot put this background color maybe in any random place and expect it to apply to everything in the table. So it would only apply to whatever sits inside it. So this background color. So for example, now again, let me. I think what is even going to be more interesting is to copy this one again. Right. So this is going to be interesting because I need to show you that you can use multiple CSS property in one right in one. You can use multiple CSS property in one line. I have a feeling something is going to break here, but we'll see. So if it breaks, it is good, so I can show you and then you learn from the mistake, because you're more likely to make the mistake when you start coding yourself. So I want to define a background color for the whole table now, so the whole table can have a background color, and I've saved that. If we go to our output and then we just refresh, okay, that works. That did not break, so that's positive. So right now you see that the whole table have a background color, and why is basically because I put a background color inside the whole table. So that is the logic, guys. That is the logic behind it. You can change the border color. Yes, you can change the border color, so but you can change the value of the border color, and everything will change. But we have a white background, so the black color is good. Just leave it as that. Right. So the background color for the table, you notice it applies to everything that sits within the table. But the other time when I put a background color in the table row, it applies to everything that sits within the table row. So it is just that is the basic logic. That is the basic logic behind it. So if I put a background color in this table details or table data, as some people would call it as well, it applies to everything that sits within the table data or table details. So it is whatever you put, whatever you style from the top will determine what would happen to every other thing that sits within it. So sits within, in this case, is basically anything that sits within the opening tag and the closing tag, and not like maybe anything that sits under it. That is not what I mean. But everything that sits within the opening tag and the closing tag, and in this case, all of this th sits within the closing tag and the opening tag. So do you guys understand that, or does anyone? Is there a question somewhere? Is there something that is not clear with the way this inline CSS or internal, not internal now, with the way this inline CSS or inline styling, like Chin also said, with the way it works? Is there any question at all? Is there any question for me? Do you understand how it works with placing the CSS and everything? Yeah, any question at all? All right, nobody, no question. All right, so let's move on. So that is the logic, guys. That is the logic, with like styling CSS inline. That is the logic. That is the logic with like styling CSS inline. Right. So again, this is something else that you should know. First off, we have our first declaration here. So all of this is a declaration. Yeah, anything that starts from the property name down to this um, sign here, colon sign here, is a declaration. And then there's another declaration behind it again. So if there's any wrong thing that you put in between this, in between the first declaration and the second declaration, it can make your code to break. And what you notice is like, with Visual Studio Code, it have a good way of like putting a red highlight under it to tell you like, okay, I think this is wrong, and then and you should remove it. So for today, guys, that is what I really want you to well understood. Yeah, thank you, Lawan. So for today, guys, that is what I want you to understand. Uh, the where you put your code, your CSS code will determine what it applies to. And remember, inline CSS can only sit in within the opening tag and not in the closing tag. So you put inline CSS in the opening tag, and everything that sits within that opening tag takes the rule or whatever you define for the inline CSS. Right, so this class should finish soon. I don't want to drag it on for too long. But for today, anyway, what we can see is like, we have our menu, we have our H1, food is ready, and then we use a little bit of CSS to style our menu. So what I'm going to do is that in the next class, I will prepare some of this ahead before I come, so we don't waste much time coding. In the next class, we do a little bit of theory again to make things make more sense. So in the next class, we're going to talk about internal CSS. We're going to go in depth, like more into CSS in general. We are going to look at the different CSS properties that we have, and we're going to look at the different CSS values as well that works with each properties. And then we're going to look at the types of CSS, the inline CSS that I was just showing you, or that I just showed you. And then we're going to look at the external CSS, and then we're going to look at the internal CSS. The internal CSS is the one that sits in the head, and then we're going to look at external CSS. External CSS is the one that you have to link with external file. So you have to link it with something called a style sheet, and a style sheet is basically an external file. So tomorrow, guys, we're going to dive into CSS properly and gradually. But by tomorrow or before tomorrow, what I'll try to do is I'll prepare a document for you that covers all of or majority of the theories that we've talked about so far on HTML. And then maybe tomorrow, tomorrow I don't want to hold a class tomorrow. I want tomorrow to be a question and answer class. I want tomorrow to be a question and answer class. So I can be rest assured that I covered all I need to cover on HTML, and you people have a true understanding of how HTML works. So from there we can move into CSS. Because you need to understand how HTML works, and you need to know all of those HTML tags before we move into CSS and start building websites with Bootstrap. So thank you guys. That's the class for today. And and then I'll see you guys tomorrow again. Tomorrow again, there's no class. It's going to be a question and answer class. So please come prepared with all of your questions that you think you have for me. Come prepared with all of your questions that you think you have for me, and then I'll be more than happy to answer. I will try as much as possible to send the documents over through the community manager, so we can start so you can look at it, read, and then maybe ask your questions as well. Again, we're going to, from tomorrow, so sorry, not from tomorrow, but start pile up all of the projects or all of the websites and the practice and the tasks that we've been doing so far, pile everything up, because very soon we're going to submit it and then collect it through Google Meet, and then we're going to use that maybe to eventually grade you and determine people that we split up into the project group as well. So the last week of this program, we're going to split you up into project group, and then we expect you to work together and come up with a project. And that is how we're going to award you as well. And we're going to use that as well to determine the people that we're going to mentor on the long run, because you can imagine having thousands of people coming to you every day. We also have a life and everything like that. So do the tasks that we have been working together on so far. Submit it when we ask you to submit them, and that way we get to know you. Right now in this class so far, I know Lawan have been very active, Sally have been very active, William have been very active, Faisayo, and every other person that I've been seeing their name back to back in this class. So thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. And I just hope you guys keep it going. And I promise you, yeah, we are going to make a web developer out of you by the end of this program. And even if that did not happen by the end of this program, at least you would have understanding of HTML and CSS, and hopefully we can continue the journey together through community mentorship and everything like that. So thank you guys. Thank you for the class. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow is question and answer again. Prepare your questions. All right, guys. Bye.